The Deadly Game, Logan and Grey's Pursuit of Truth, written by Reuben White, Chapter 1. Into the storm the ferry's engines roared as Detective Jack Logan leaned against the railing, the wind whipping at his coat. He drew deeply from his pipe, the smoke mingling with the salt-tinged air. Beside him Oliver Grey stood, his eyes fixed on the looming silhouette of the island in the distance. "This place gives me the creeps," Logan, Grey said, his voice barely audible over the roar of the wind. "It's like something out of a horror novel." Logan grunted in agreement, his gaze never leaving the darkened shoreline. "There's more to this island than meets the eye, Grey. I can feel it in my bones." As the ferry docked with a jolt, Logan and Grey stepped onto the rain-soaked pier, their coats pulled tight against the biting wind. A lone figure stood waiting for them, his silhouette illuminated by the dim glow of a lantern. "Detective Logan, I presume," the man said, his voice a low rumble in the darkness. Logan nodded. "That's me." "And you are?" The man extended a hand. "I'm Edward Sinclair, the caretaker of the island. I've been expecting you." Logan shook Sinclair's hand firmly. "Lead the way, Mr. Sinclair. We've got a killer to catch." As they trudged through the mud-soaked path toward the imposing mansion that served as the club's headquarters, Logan couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over him like a shroud. There was something about this place, something sinister lurking beneath its serene facade. Chapter 2. The gathering storm. The mansion loomed before them, its windows dark against the backdrop of the storm. Edward Sinclair led them inside, where the remaining club members were gathered in the dimly lit drawing room. Their faces were drawn with fear and suspicion as they watched Logan and Grey enter. Logan surveyed the room with a keen eye, taking in the nervous glances and hushed whispers that filled the air like a thick fog. These were not just ordinary club members. They were suspects in a murder investigation, each one potentially hiding a dark secret. "Thank you for gathering, gentlemen," Logan said, his voice cutting through the tense silence. "As you're aware, 2 of your fellow members have been brutally murdered, and it's my job to find out who's responsible." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, but Logan could sense the undercurrent of fear that ran beneath the surface. These men were hiding something, he was sure of it. The storm outside intensified, the wind howling like a banshee as Logan and Grey settled in for the long night ahead. They had a killer to catch, and time was running out. Chapter 3. The path to darkness. Rain pounded against the windows as Logan and Grey trudged through the storm towards the mansion. The wind whipped at their coats, and Logan's pipe struggled to stay lit. Each step felt heavier than the last as they approached the imposing building that loomed ahead. Inside the mansion, a fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows across the faces of the remaining club members. Logan's sharp eyes scanned the room, taking note of every detail, every nuance. These men were not just suspects, they were players in a deadly game, and Logan intended to uncover their secrets. "Detective Logan," one of the men spoke up, his voice tinged with nervousness. "We appreciate your efforts to solve this tragedy." Logan nodded curtly, his gaze never faltering. "I'll need to speak with each of you individually. No stone will be left unturned." The tension in the room was palpable as Logan began his assessments. Each man had a motive, a reason to want the victims dead. But as Logan delved deeper, he realized that the truth was far more elusive than he had anticipated. Chapter 4. Secrets and Suspicions. As the storm raged on outside, Logan and Grey delved deeper into the lives of the club members, searching for clues that might lead them to the killer. But with each passing hour, the list of suspects seemed to grow longer, not shorter. "These men are hiding something," Logan, Grey said, frustration evident in his voice. "But what?" Logan rubbed his temples wearily, his mind racing with possibilities. "We'll have to dig deeper, Grey." There's more to this than meets the eye. Their investigations led them down a labyrinth of deceit and betrayal, where alliances shifted like sand in the wind and trust was a scarce commodity. But amidst the chaos, Logan remained focused, determined to uncover the truth no matter the cost. As they continued their search, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the killer was always one step ahead. But with the storm raging outside and tensions running high, there was no time to waste. They had a killer to catch, and Logan would stop at nothing to bring them to justice. Chapter 5, Unraveling the threads. With the storm still raging outside, Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey began their methodical search for clues within the confines of the mansion. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the candlelight seemed to hold a secret, and Logan was determined to uncover them all. They scoured the rooms, searching for anything out of the ordinary. It was Grey who first noticed the strange pattern in the carpet, leading them to a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside, they found a series of cryptic notes, each one more baffling than the last. "These messages are the key to unraveling this mystery," Logan said, his voice low with excitement. "We just need to decipher them." As they pored over the notes, Logan's mind raced with possibilities. Each word, each phrase held a clue, a piece of the puzzle waiting to be unlocked. But time was running out, and the killer's next move could be right around the corner. Chapter 6, Shadows of Doubt. Armed with the cryptic messages, Logan and Grey turned their attention to the suspects, conducting interrogations that bordered on the edge of desperation. Tensions ran high as accusations flew and alliances shifted like sand in the wind. But amidst the chaos, Logan remained focused, his piercing gaze never wavering as he probed for the truth. And with each question, each revelation, the shadows of doubt grew darker, obscuring the line between friend and foe. "These men are hiding something, Grey," Logan said, his voice tight with frustration. "But what?" Grey nodded grimly, his face pale beneath the flickering light of the oil lamp. "We'll find out, Logan. We have to." As they delved deeper into the twisted minds of the suspects, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something, some crucial piece of the puzzle that would bring everything into focus. But with the killer always one step ahead, they would need to act fast if they were to uncover the truth before it was too late. Chapter 7, Echoes of Deception. As the investigation wore on, Logan and Grey found themselves no closer to unraveling the mystery than they had been at the beginning. The cryptic messages left at the murder scene seemed to mock them, taunting them with their inscrutable meaning. "We're missing something, Grey," Logan said, frustration evident in his voice. "Something right in front of us." Grey nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. "But what?" Logan shook his head, his mind racing with possibilities. "I don't know, Grey. But we can't give up now. We have to keep digging until we find the truth, no matter where it leads us." And so, armed with nothing but their determination and the cryptic messages that seemed to hold the key to the mystery, Logan and Grey plunged headfirst into the heart of darkness that lay at the center of the island, where secrets whispered like shadows in the night and danger lurked around every corner. Chapter 8, Whispers in the Dark. As suspicions among the club members escalated, tensions within the mansion reached a fever pitch. Logan could feel the weight of their eyes on him, each one filled with mistrust and fear. The killer's twisted game was tearing them apart, sowing seeds of doubt and paranoia at every turn. Logan paced the dimly lit corridors, his mind racing with possibilities. Another murder could happen at any moment, and the pressure to solve the case weighed heavily on his shoulders. But the killer remained elusive, their identity shrouded in darkness like a shadow in the night. "We need to stay focused, Grey," Logan said, his voice tight with determination. "We can't let fear cloud our judgment." Grey nodded, his face grim in the flickering candlelight. "But how do we catch a killer who's always one step ahead?" Logan clenched his jaw, his eyes blazing with resolve. We keep pushing forward, no matter the cost. We'll find the truth, Grey. We have to. Chapter 9, The gathering storm. As the storm outside intensified, so too did the atmosphere of fear and paranoia within the mansion. The wind howled like a banshee, rattling the windows and sending shivers down Logan's spine. "We're running out of time, Grey," Logan said, his voice barely audible over the roar of the storm. "We need to solve this case before it's too late." Grey nodded, his expression grim as he watched the lightning dance across the sky. "But how, Logan? The killer always seems to be one step ahead." Logan's jaw tightened, his mind racing with possibilities. "We'll have to outsmart them, Grey. Use their own tactics against them." But as the storm raged on outside, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing right into the killer's hands. With each passing moment, the tension in the mansion grew thicker, like a suffocating fog that threatened to consume them all. "We can't let fear dictate our actions, Grey," Logan said, his voice steady despite the storm raging around them. "We'll find the killer, no matter what it takes." And with that, Logan and Grey plunged headfirst into the heart of darkness that lay at the center of the island, where secrets whispered like shadows in the night and danger lurked around every corner. Chapter 10, The grim discovery. The storm outside continued to rage as Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey delved deeper into their investigation. But just as they felt they were closing in on the truth, tragedy struck once more. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the mansion, sending chills down Logan's spine. Racing to the scene, they found another club member lying lifeless on the floor, the victim of a brutal murder. The room was silent save for the sound of their own ragged breaths, and Logan knew that time was running out. "We have to find the killer, Grey," Logan said, his voice tight with determination. "Before they strike again." Grey nodded grimly, his face pale beneath the flickering candlelight. "But how, Logan? The killer seems to be one step ahead at every turn." Logan clenched his jaw, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need to follow the clues, Grey. They're leading us somewhere, I can feel it." And with that, Logan and Grey redoubled their efforts, searching every inch of the mansion for any clue that might lead them to the killer. But as the storm raged on outside, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Chapter 11, Connections in the shadows. As Logan and Grey combed through the evidence, they uncovered deeper connections between the victims and the remaining club members. It seemed that everyone had a motive, a reason to want the victims dead. But as they delved deeper, Logan realized that the truth was far more complex than he had ever imagined. "These murders are not random, Grey," Logan said, his voice low with intensity. "There's a connection between the victims, and the killer knows it." Grey nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. "But what is it, Logan? What ties them all together?" Logan's jaw tightened, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need to dig deeper, Grey. There's more to this than meets the eye." Armed with their newfound knowledge, Logan and Grey plunged headfirst into the heart of darkness that lay at the center of the island, where secrets whispered like shadows in the night and danger lurked around every corner. But as they delved deeper, they soon realized that the motive behind the killings was far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. And with the storm raging on outside, Logan knew that time was running out to catch the killer before they struck again. Chapter 12, The unraveling truth. As Logan and Grey pieced together the clues, the motive behind the killings began to emerge like a shadow in the night. It seemed that the victims had stumbled upon a secret, one that someone was willing to kill to protect. "We're dealing with a master manipulator, Grey," Logan said, his voice tight with frustration. "Someone who will stop at nothing to keep their secret hidden." Grey nodded grimly, his face pale beneath the flickering candlelight. "But who, Logan? Who could be capable of such heinous acts?" Logan clenched his jaw, his mind racing with possibilities. "We'll have to keep digging, Grey. The truth is out there, and we'll find it, no matter what it takes." And with that, Logan and Grey plunged headfirst into the heart of darkness that lay at the center of the island, where secrets whispered like shadows in the night and danger lurked around every corner. But whether they would emerge victorious or fall victim to the killer's twisted game remained to be seen. Chapter 13, The hunter becomes the hunted. As the investigation intensified, so too did the killer's resolve to evade capture. Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey found themselves thrust into a twisted game of cat and mouse, with the killer targeting them directly. The first sign came in the form of a cryptic message left for Logan, taunting him with its chilling words. The killer's presence seemed to lurk around every corner, their shadowy figure haunting Logan's every move. "We're being watched, Grey," Logan said, his voice low with unease. "The killer is closing in on us." Grey nodded grimly, his eyes darting nervously around the room. "But how do we catch them, Logan? They're always one step ahead." Logan clenched his jaw, his mind racing with possibilities. "We'll have to outsmart them, Grey. Use their own tactics against them." But as the mind games escalated, Logan found himself struggling to maintain his grip on reality. The killer's twisted tactics threatened to unravel him, leaving him teetering on the edge of sanity. Chapter 14, A dance of shadows. With each passing day, the killer's mind games escalated, pushing Logan to the brink of madness. Cryptic messages appeared in the most unexpected places, taunting him with their enigmatic words. Logan's dreams were haunted by visions of death and despair, the line between reality and illusion blurring with each passing moment. He couldn't shake the feeling that the killer was always one step ahead, their shadowy figure lurking just out of reach. "We're in over our heads, Grey," Logan said, his voice strained with exhaustion. "The killer is playing with us like puppets on a string." Grey nodded grimly, his face pale beneath the flickering candlelight. "But how do we fight back, Logan? They seem to know our every move." Logan clenched his fists, his mind racing with possibilities. "We'll have to stay one step ahead, Grey. Anticipate their next move before they make it." But as the killer's tactics became more twisted, Logan found himself struggling to maintain his grip on reality. The line between truth and illusion blurred, leaving him lost in a maze of shadows and deceit. Chapter 15, Descend into darkness. As the killer's mind games reached a fever pitch, Logan found himself teetering on the edge of madness. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat, every whisper a taunt. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that the killer was always one step ahead. "We're running out of time, Grey," Logan said, his voice tight with desperation. "The killer is closing in on us, and I don't know how much longer I can hold on." Grey nodded grimly, his face pale beneath the flickering candlelight. "But we can't give up, Logan. We have to fight back, no matter the cost." Logan clenched his fists, his mind racing with possibilities. "We'll find the truth, Grey. We have to. For the sake of the victims, and for our own sanity." And with that, Logan and Grey plunged headfirst into the heart of darkness that lay at the center of the island, where secrets whispered like shadows in the night and danger lurked around every corner. But whether they would emerge victorious or fall victim to the killer's twisted game remained to be seen. Chapter 16, Shadows of the Past. As the storm outside raged on, Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey prepared for the final showdown with the killer. They knew that their enemy was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With each step they took, the tension in the mansion grew thicker, like a suffocating fog that threatened to consume them all. But Logan and Grey refused to back down, their determination unwavering in the face of danger. "We're close, Grey," Logan said, his voice low with intensity. "I can feel it in my bones. The killer is here, somewhere, waiting for us. Grey nodded grimly, his face pale beneath the flickering candlelight. But how do we find them, Logan? They could be hiding anywhere. Logan clenched his fists, his mind racing with possibilities. We'll have to flush them out, Grey. Force them to reveal themselves. And with that, Logan and Grey plunged headfirst into the heart of darkness that lay at the center of the island, where secrets whispered like shadows in the night and danger lurked around every corner. But whether they would emerge victorious or fall victim to the killer's twisted game remained to be seen. Chapter 17, The Unmasking. As Logan and Grey closed in on their prey, the tension in the mansion reached a boiling point. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every whisper a taunt. But amidst the chaos, Logan remained focused, his eyes fixed on the task at hand. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, their face shrouded in shadows. Logan's heart raced as he realized that the killer was standing before him, their twisted smile sending shivers down his spine. "We meet at last, Detective," the killer said, their voice a low whisper in the darkness. Logan's jaw tightened, his hand reaching for the gun at his hip. "Who are you? What do you want?" But before the killer could respond, a voice rang out from the shadows, shocking everyone in the room. "I know who the killer is," a club member said, their voice trembling with fear. "And it's not who you think." And with that revelation, the truth behind the murders was finally revealed, sending shockwaves through the already fragile group. Chapter 18, Victory and Loss. As the storm outside finally began to subside, Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey emerged victorious from the final showdown with the killer. But the cost of their victory was steep, leaving them scarred by the ordeal. "We did it, Grey," Logan said, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "We caught the killer." Grey nodded, his face pale beneath the dim light of the oil lamp. "But at what cost, Logan? So many lives lost, all because of one person's twisted agenda." Logan clenched his fists, his mind racing with memories of the horrors they had witnessed. "We'll never forget what happened here, Grey. But we can take solace in the fact that justice has been served." And with that, Logan and Grey left the island behind them, the echoes of deception fading into the distance like a haunting melody. They may have emerged victorious, but they knew that the scars of their ordeal would linger long after the storm had passed. Chapter 19, The Calm. After the storm. As dawn broke, the storm that had raged over the island finally began to subside, leaving behind a serene calmness that belied the horrors of the previous days. Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey stood on the pier, watching as the sun rose over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the water. "The storm has passed," Logan, Grey said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But the scars it left behind will linger for a long time." Logan nodded solemnly, his gaze fixed on the island in the distance. "We may have caught the killer, Grey, but the echoes of deception will continue to haunt this place for years to come." And with that, they turned away from the island, leaving behind the darkness that had consumed it, and the secrets that had torn it apart. Chapter 20, Reflections. In the silence. As they sailed away from the island, Detective Jack Logan found himself lost in thought, his mind still reeling from the events that had unfolded. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had failed somehow, that there was more to the story than he had uncovered. "We did our best, Logan," Grey said, breaking the silence that had settled over them like a shroud. "We caught the killer and brought them to justice. That's all we could do." Logan nodded, his gaze distant as he stared out at the horizon. "But at what cost, Grey? How many lives were destroyed because of one person's twisted agenda?" Grey placed a hand on Logan's shoulder, offering what little comfort he could. "We may never have all the answers, Logan. But we can take solace in the fact that we did our best to bring peace to those who were affected." And with that, Logan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection, knowing that while the scars of their ordeal would never fully heal, they had emerged from the darkness stronger than before. Chapter 21, Echoes of Deception. As they sailed away from the island, life slowly returned to normal for the remaining club members. The mansion was once again filled with laughter and conversation, but the echoes of deception lingered in the air like a haunting melody. Detective Jack Logan and Oliver Grey returned to their lives, forever changed by the events that had unfolded on the island. They may have caught the killer and brought an end to the nightmare, but the scars of their ordeal would never fully fade. And as the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, the island remained shrouded in silence, a reminder of the darkness that had once consumed it. But amidst the shadows, a glimmer of hope remained, a beacon of light that promised a brighter future for those who had endured the storm. If you are enjoying the Mystery Within channel, feel free to hit the subscribe, follow or like buttons for future updates.